Welcome to Secular Soup. Stay tuned for real talk about atheism, feminism, politics, parenting, and whatever the fuck else Amy and Amy want to talk about, because this is their show. And get ready for a whole lot of motherfucking profanity.
You want to hear a secret?
I won't tell anybody. Go ahead. If I sit next to you, I'm going to get gonorrhea. It's going to jump into me. Just two ladies hanging out.
Is it okay for me to make fun of his neck waddle if I make fun of my own neck waddle?
I'm not sure.
That's a real ethical conundrum.
Would you know if you were born a lizard person, or can you be like adopted into the...
I think you know.
We're such professionals.
We really are.
Buckle up, bitches. It's time to have some soup.
Hi, I'm Amy with an I.
And I am Shelly with a Y.
Yeah, sure, why not? I have an extra blueberry floating in a bowl of tomato soup today. This is Shelly from the
Latter Day Lesbian podcast. Yes, ma'am.
Latter Day Lesbian, yes. She is a former Mormon, so we're going to talk all kinds of trash about the church, basically.
My favorite topic.
Oh, mine too. Mine too. But then it gets a little dark and deep, and then you're crying, and everybody's looking at you like you're crazy, and you're like, you don't understand the damage and the jello. Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, that's what we're here for. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. So I was born and raised Mormon. Born under the covenant. My parents, were sealed in the temple.
Oh, good. You're legit.
Oh, God, yeah. No, I was like Mormon, pioneer stock heritage, the whole nine. And I was raised in a household where it was my dad and my three older brothers, very patriarchal, very macho. And then my mom, who's like weak and has no opinion and just not, did everything my dad wanted her to do, didn't make any decisions on her own. Everything was my dad. And so that was what I got to see growing up. I am 3 years younger than my brother, who's just above me, and I have no younger siblings. And so there was no strong women in my life. And I think that has to do a lot with how I got so damaged, is I didn't have anyone to follow that would be a strong woman, because in the Mormon world, you really can't be a strong woman because the man is always above you. As strong as you are, the man is going to make the final decision.
Right. You can be as strong as you want, just don't get too uppity.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So and my dad was also very in the military, always climbing the ranks, always in charge of everyone, always had the right answer. And he was always in a bishopric or stake presidency. He was a mission president. Everything to him is church, and to my mom, church. Mm-hmm. My dad, even when he retired from the Air Force, then he was a mission president, and then he came back to Utah and he worked for the church office building. So he's just all in, solidly in. And obviously, and I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of this, I was damaged in every way being a Mormon girl. But in the back of my mind, I knew, and when I say I know, we know what that means. It's like I was brainwashed. I actually didn't know shit. I was brainwashed. But I knew that the only way to be happy was to follow God's plan for me, which we know is to get married to a worthy return missionary, and have babies. And
you have to follow that checklist. Otherwise, you won't be happy. How will you even know what happiness is?
Exactly. So I had like a rebellious streak in high school and early on in college. I played basketball in college, which should have been a clue that I was gay. But no one told me. I could show you some sweet mullet pictures and you'd be like, how did you not know you were gay? Look at your mullet. But yeah, I could never, looking back, there were so many signs that I was gay. But when you are a gay child in the Mormon church, especially in the 80s, I didn't even know what gay was. Like, it wasn't even talked about.
Oh, no.
No, it wasn't until...
There's always that uncle that no one visits. Or
I didn't even have that. I was totally screwed.
I didn't have it, but I heard stories of, we don't really talk to them because they've chosen to live in sin or a different lifestyle that we don't agree with. And like, I never asked questions about that.
Oh, I believed everything that any priesthood leader told me. It didn't matter what it was. I believed it completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anything that was talked about that was having to do with being gay was when it's way later in high school. I remember when Ellen DeGeneres started her show and she came out of the closet. And so she was referred to as Ellen DeGenerate in my home.
Mine too.
What is that? Gosh, it's so rude. But
I have a son that's afraid to come out to his grandparents. That's where it's at too.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
You get it.
I know. Totally. Gay people were just out for rampant gay sex. There was no, they just dehumanized gay people completely. Like they just want to have base sex and they're trying to ruin the traditional family. Animals. Yeah. So essentially I was raised to hate myself. I didn't even realize who I was, but I hated who I was. So I ended up at BYU. That was a horrible transition for me. That was when I had to clean up my act and be on the straight and narrow and do all the right things and find a husband. And the first return missionary who showed me any interest, I married because it was hard for me to believe that any Mormon boy, like good return missionary Mormon boy, would have any interest in me because I was not a virgin at that point. And I was dirty and unclean and had all these sins I needed to repent for. And so we got married and I didn't even like him that much. I surely wasn't in love with him. But again, you're told you get married in the temple and you have kids and you'll be happy. So I did that. I got married in the temple, had 7 kids, did all the callings, gave it my all. And I turned 40 and was like, I'm 40.
What the fuck have I done with my life?
Like, guess what? I did all the things and I'm not happy. I have 7 kids, which kids, by the way, if you ever listen to this, I adore you. I love you.
Oh, yeah.
That's nothing to do with it. But like 7 kids and the husband and doing all the church stuff. And I was exhausted. And we were the family at church that was like, everyone needs to be like the DeWitts. I don't mind using my last name. I don't care. My old last name. And so we were expected to be everywhere, do everything. The kids were white shirts and ties, hair slicked to the side, front row. Yep. I mean, we were crushing it. And inside I was exhausted and tired.
Dying.
I was dying. I was dying.
Yeah.
My husband and I both ended up leaving the church together.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm glad that he left because I don't know what my life would be if he'd have stayed in with me being gay. And I mean,
what
it would have been.
What would you do with an ex-husband that was like, still in the church? I'm glad mine left with me too.
Yeah, I would have.
I mean, he's an asshole, but at least he's not Mormon.
Thank you. I know the nicest Mormon will still screw my kids up. At least my husband, who he can be an asshole at times. He's a great dad and he doesn't brainwash the kids. Like he knows it was all bullshit. We left the church. And then after leaving the church, I started analyzing my beliefs. And one of them was, I started making friends outside of the church and there were gay people in these friendships. And I was realizing like, I really like.
Wait a second.
Yeah. Like Brian's like a really cool dude that just wants a boyfriend and to be happy and have dogs. Right. And I started realizing this. And then I finally came to the conclusion that God doesn't hate gays if there is a God. And guess what? I'm okay with people being gay. I think that's actually just fine. And it was within a day that I noticed myself being so attracted to women. Like I was catching myself going, why do I keep staring at her? Why? I mean, I'd be at the gym and there's all these hot dudes with their shirts off, but I can't stop looking at the women.
Oh yeah. It's nothing. They're nothing compared to the women. Honestly, women are just beautiful. Beautiful.
And it was a physical attraction, but it was also this, I want to be their best friends. I want to know everything about them. I want to sit at a coffee shop and talk all day and like touch her hand. And it was just this.
You're like, and if she'll let me touch that butt.
Oh, awesome. The first time a boob touched my hand, I was like, that is it. That is it.
So I went to ex-Mormon parties and all of the women were making out with each other, like constantly. Because all of us were just like, what is this soft creature? And we're all just making out with each other and taking pictures of us making out with each other. And it was great.
Yeah. Like experiment, something that you can actually finally do. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So after I realized that I was most likely gay and my husband and I had been fighting. I mean, the marriage was never good to begin with, but we had been fighting a lot.
Well, if you never even like the person, it was probably similar to me where I liked him. Okay. Like we'd watch movies together. We hung out. He was my buddy.
Was someone to hang with.
There was never any love feelings and there was never like romantic feelings towards him. I thought he was a decent guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Like, there's worse, but there's just not this connection.
Right. And he asked. And so I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. We'll do it. We'll follow God's plan.
I mean, I guess we're soulmates. Sure. Why not?
Okay. If the Spirit told you we should get married, then I guess.
Oh yeah. I got that one too. I read about it and you're the right one. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Well, they didn't talk to me. But I understand why they talk to you.
Because he has the priesthood, so they would of course go through him, and you need to be obedient to the man and just go along with what he says. So I was
questioning it the whole time, and I was like, oh yeah, but no.
I questioned it too. So we ended up separating. He was thinking I just needed to go sow my wild oats with a woman, and then I would realize that I actually wanted him, and blah blah blah. And I hit the ground running. It was like,
Your host season is not ending.
Yeah, I met, and in my mind, I was going to date a bunch of women and date men. I was going to do it all. And then I met Mary, and I was single for like 24 hours. I mean, that was it. Yep. I fell in love with her so hard, and we are now my husband and I have divorced at this point. We're still friends. He lives down the street. And that's Mary awesome. And I live together, and we have our podcast, the Latter Day Lesbian podcast, and that's where we talk about this. The podcast it's very raw and vulnerable, but we crack up, we laugh, we poke fun. It's a little bit of everything. That's great. So there's my nutshell.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, we have a lot in common. It's very cool. Yeah, I was single. I actually did an episode on it. It's called "Fuck It, I'm on Tinder," because I got we did mediation, but my ex he got really ugly and nasty, and he was emotionally abusive, low level, and then he got worse. And then when I filed for divorce and decided to leave, he dialed it up. Ugh. And started using the kids as pawns, and I'm still in the middle of it. It's bad. It's okay. I mean, I'm divorced. It's been over a year since all of it, but he's taking me back to court because, bitches don't deserve money. Yeah. His quote, not mine.
God.
And so, yeah, it's this whole thing. But, so we're not friends. But I did the same thing where I'm like, I have to have a host season because he was my first. Yeah. He was, And so I'm like, okay, host season. This is awesome. And during the divorce process, I, had some friends scratch some itches and things, but I had like gone out on dates and had fun and all of that. 3 weeks on Tinder. 3 weeks. That's it. And I met him like first week, but I was like, no.
Host season is in. No. I can't do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Host season is nigh. So, and he was like ethically non-monogamous. And so I'm like, okay, cool. You have your lady that you're dating and other people that you're dating. I'm going to go see all of these people, and this is going to be awesome. But both of us we kept coming back we kept being drawn to each other, and we're like, you know what? We can't. We like this. And yeah, so that's it. It was it.
Host season was over.
Host season was like instantly over, and like 2 weeks.
I didn't even get one.
Yeah, 2 weeks after I met him, and we were monogamous and in a couple, and it was like we were weeing all over the place. Like, we need to go here, and we need to get this, and he moved in almost instantly, and so
that's awesome.
It is, and it's crazy, and it's, because I'm like, what? But I'm of age also, so it's like, what else am I gonna do? Am I really gonna have like wild college years?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm like 44.
I don't feel like I'm missing out.
No, I don't need to be in the dating pool. I thought I would. I thought it would be fun. And here's a
me too.
Here's a funny story for you. So Mary and I were dating, and I knew I loved her. I had told her that I loved her. But we weren't exclusive yet. I was just afraid to do that thing because it's like, I'm just like barely living a marriage. Why would I do this?
Because I'm like, why would I go from one serious relationship to another? Like, am I crazy? Am I just this monogamous gal? Like, is this who I am?
Yeah.
I can't be this.
I thought I was a player. I guess I'm not a player, right? I guess I'm just...
Right.
So we went...
Well, and I reformed a poly guy because he was poly.
Wow.
And he was like, I can't... He was like, I don't want to see anyone else. I'm like, oh.
Well, then I say yes.
I mean, reformed means it's something that needs to be reformed. That's not really the nice phrasing.
I get it.
Okay.
He doesn't want to be with anyone else at this point because you are magical.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But it's also, there's always discussions, and there's always ever evolving, and
Sure. That's great.
Just have to cover all my bases with my phrasing,
I get it. I absolutely get it. So when Mary and I, we had said we loved each other, but I wasn't prepared yet to just not that I was actively looking, I just was scared to do that. I had a weekend. I went with some friends to go visit my friend in Houston. We went to this bar, and of course I got drunk. But on our way there, we were making bets like, if anyone makes out with a stranger, first person to make out with a stranger, gets $25 or something. We were just being silly and ridiculous. And then it was, we're in Texas, so if you can make out with a stranger and he's wearing cowboy boots, $50. Like, we were having all these bets. So by the time we got there, 10 minutes in, we've all been drinking, and there's this whole crew of guys there from the military. They were there. I don't remember why. It doesn't matter. But there was this one guy there that had...
Well, Houston, was it shore leave?
They were, I don't know exactly. Yeah. But this one guy was there, and he had cowboy boots. And I was like, oh, cowboy boots. Okay, I'm going to win this money. And we ended up making out, and it was horrible because, he had braces. He looked like he was about 16, except for he had scruff. And he said he was in the military, so I assumed he was of age.
At least 18.
Yeah, but my friends, we still laugh about that. Like, okay, there's Shelly being wild. She goes and makes out with some dude with braces. So I came back from the vacation, and Mary picked me up at the airport, and she was like, did you have a good time? And I said, yeah. And she said, did you kiss anyone? And I lied to her. I said, no, but I knew she knew I was lying. And the next day she kind of said, listen, I love you. I want to be with you, but I can't handle this in limbo stuff. If you want to date other people, I totally get it. And I will date
But I can't be a part.
Yeah, she goes, but I can't be a part. We can be friends. I will also date other people, but I can't. And the idea of losing her as a lover and that connected person and imagining her maybe finding connection elsewhere, it broke me. And I was like, no, I'm done. It's you. I need this. And yeah.
How long have you guys been together?
About a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's amazing. But I did, the whole thing of trying to have your wild streak and
Well, no, so I had a phone conversation the night before our first date, actually. And it turned out to be one of those 4-hour phone conversations because we just hit it off. Like, even now, we're at almost a year. We're coming up on a year anniversary. He still calls me, or I call him, on our way into work and our way home from work, because we both have like about an hour drive.
Yeah.
So we just talk to each other all the time. And then if we have to drive somewhere and the other one's available, we just talk constantly.
Yeah. Yep.
But the first conversation was about 4.5 hours. And I said something that apparently resonated with him. Mm-hmm. I told him that right now I'm just dating casually, but at some point I know me and I am monogamous. And so at some point I will need to have someone that's a part of my life completely.
Yeah.
And not, foot in, foot out, or seeing other people or invested elsewhere. I need, for me personally, I need that. And he said that when he was talking to me and he realized over the phone that he really liked me, and then he met me in person the next day, he said that he actually realized that he would either need to make a choice within the next several weeks, either to watch me move on and be okay with it, or be the one I moved on with.
Yeah.
So it took 2 weeks. But I always joke that we moved lesbian fast because he was living in my house in 2 weeks.
Yep.
He literally was. He was living in my house 2 weeks, and I was like, this is not because I'm someone who researches a vacuum for 3 months. Like, I am very, very cautious and restrained, but it was just like, crazy. It was crazy.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome.
It is, but it's also terrifying. Because I told him this because I was married for so long, and I was hurt very, very badly. Yeah. I was like, I'm basically handing you the keys to hurt me. Like, here you go. Here's all the ammunition. Don't point that at me.
Yeah.
Totes promise. And it's scary. It's scary. So, but I also understand that he's doing the same with me, and it's balanced.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
So but yeah, the damage is something that comes up really often. The first couple months we dated, every single night, one of us would be crying at some point, just from processing, because he was in a really abusive relationship prior, and I was in a really, really abusive relationship. So we would just sit there, and something would trigger something, and it would just, probably the first 2 months, every single night. And we would kind of have this running joke, like, who's going to cry tonight first?
Aww.
Like, whose turn is it? Who's going to get triggered tonight?
I love that you guys can heal together that way. That's actually very touching.
It was actually really good that we were able to do that. And now we're at the point where, usually if I'm crying, it's because I'm about to start my period. And, but then I tell him, don't you dare use that as a reason why I'm crying, because I'm still upset. And
That's right. And, don't say, well, you're just overly emotional because on your period. No, you're being a dick right now. That's why I'm upset.
He actually wouldn't. And he's really cool.
Yeah.
Which then I get furious that he's so cool because I'm on my period and I'm raging. But, it's just,
I get it.
As I do. I'm like, why do you have to breathe so loudly once a month? It's really weird.
Huh.
It's very strange.
That's funny.
I always preface it. I'm like, my hormones don't have anything to do with this, but you're driving me up the fucking wall.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, it is good that we kind of we pulled each other up.
Yeah. Mary has definitely been, she's very stable, and I am not stable.
Yeah.
I'm not at all stable.
I have this friend, she's amazing. But she was like, there is a crazy person in every relationship. There's one crazy person in every relationship. And I'm sorry, honey, but it's you. That's what she told me, because the guy I was dating before this was not stable. And she was like, because I was always, every other week was drama. Every other week was, do I need to talk him from the edge, basically, like every other week. It was always something with this one. And she was like, there has to be, one steady, stable person and one crazy person. And we both know which one you are. So you got to find that rock. And he's not it, basically, was what she was saying.
Like, you can't be the stable one in the relationship. That will never work out. You need to have a stable one to balance you.
No.
Yeah, that's me. I'm definitely... I'm the super emotional one. I am the one that's trying to, I'm the one that's always trying to process shit. And Mary's like, okay, honey, okay. She says all the right things. I am always shocked that she stays with me, because there's so much that I'm processing.
Thing. Yeah. I'm like, how can you stay with me? But he's ex-Mormon too. So it was actually... And I joke around that I found an ex-Mormon in the wild, because I literally met him on Tinder. So I'm like, how did I find an ex-Mormon on Tinder? Like,
right?
Because I'm in all the ex-Mormon communities, but I wasn't, that felt incestual to pick up someone in my ex-Mormon communities that I was like, I processed through the church stuff in those groups. I wasn't going to pick up anyone in those groups. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, it's like dating a cousin.
Yeah.
So, no. So I Tinder out there in the wild, and I met another ex-Mormon. So
that's awesome.
But he left at 15. So
wow. Well, see, he didn't have a chance to get as damaged as we did. Yeah.
So lucky. I left at 34.
Oh God, 40. Here, what do you think was the thing that was most damaging to you, being raised Mormon? If you could pick out one thing.
Basically, okay. So I joke around that we were raised at like veal only for breeding. I think being raised in such a way where I'm kind of prime picking for to be a victim. Yeah. Like, abusers probably sought me out because I was just accommodating and malleable. Yeah. And I think that was the most damaging to me, and I apologize if I do anything that could be deemed unworthy or slighting, or but I'm allowing for multitudes of sins. So I think that was the most damaging to me, is just the realizing that my feelings and my thoughts, feelings, and emotions and everything matter the same level and they have the same weight as my partners. Yeah. Like, I don't need to bend over backwards and break my own back to accommodate someone else. Yeah.
What is it about? Because I'm the same way. I grew up having to be a pleaser. I just wanted. Yes. Why is it? Because they always taught us that you serve and you endure to the end. Like, there was never any the only talk of happiness was in your family.
You have to find joy. You have to be joyful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
remember that in Relief Society being told, if you're not joyful, something's wrong.
Yeah. It's because I'm a fucking depressed. Mormon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had postpartum depression and stuff, and I would sit there and wonder, what is wrong with me? I am not finding joy, playing building blocks on the floor with my toddlers. I'm not.
I was the same.
Miserable.
Yeah.
I was miserable. So I went back to school just so I could have anything, at 28. I was home with 2 children. I got pregnant during school with my third, and it was just, I had to have something, but my ex-husband was not accommodating. Like, I would have class at 7 p.m. and he would be like, sorry, you have to miss tonight. I'm working late, or sorry.
Because you were just secondary. Yeah.
Right. It didn't matter. It didn't matter to me. I wanted to go to different schools. I wanted to go to graduate school elsewhere. And he was like, sorry. So I would do online things. I would try to like wiggle around and, whatever. So yeah, it just didn't matter. Like, I just didn't rank.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell in line with that. Like, I didn't matter.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was taught, of course, that your divine calling in life is to be a mom. And I struggled with that because I never really enjoyed it. I didn't want to sit down and play Chutes and Ladders all day with a kid.
Didn't like being pregnant. Didn't like staying home with babies. I love my children.
Yes.
Immensely. I don't know if I had gone back now, if I was raised not Mormon, I don't know what my life would look like. I don't know what my family would look like. But this is the family that I have now, and I adore every single one of my children for who they are. I love them. Yeah. So I would try to make the same choices to bring them into the world.
Right.
Because they're amazing people.
Yeah.
But it's always been really hard for me because I always felt like a square peg.
Oh, yeah. I always wondered why I didn't want to do all the things with my kids that the other moms did. And when I would open up to my husband, kind of being vulnerable and saying, I'm struggling here, he would say something, well, it's just because your mom was sort of absent. Or he would say, well, you need to love them more. Or there was never any understanding of this might not actually be for you, and that's okay. Just because you're a woman doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to love being a mom. But I was just told that over and over, like, well, there's something wrong with you because your divine calling is to be a mom. That's the one thing you're supposed to be good at, and when you're not good at it, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Right. Like, I didn't realize that you had to like learn how to breastfeed. I seriously thought it would be something innate. Like, we're animals. We should know how to do it. We don't. Right. We don't know what we're doing.
No.
So I felt like the same thing with babies. Like, I should just know what I'm doing and be okay with it. But I was miserable. And then you have play dates with the other moms, and they are intolerable.
Oh, God.
They stood around talking about, shoes and Jesus, basically. And I was bored out of my mind by all of them.
Yep.
And so I would try to say things that, because I have this problem, quote unquote problem. It's great for my show, but I have this problem where I like to say shocking things. Even when I was Mormon, I have not changed who I am, obviously. I have not changed who I am. I just added more profanity.
Yes.
But I would say shocking things because I love watching people's reactions. Especially, uptight, bitch moved here from Utah or something.
Yep.
And someone was like, oh, a new family moved in. I was like, is she the blonde version or the brunette version? Because it seems like there's only two people in the church, just blonde version and brunette version of the same, like, skinny, bitchy Mormon chick. And I am not. I'm a short, fat redhead. That's just, And so I was like, okay, I would say something. I would, our kids would be playing. I would give it some time. We'd be chatting and joking or something. And I would say something just shocking, just something right on the edge of being, something. And I loved watching their faces, like, oh, like they didn't know what to do with me because they like me. And I'm fun. And I fit all the boxes. I fit all the criteria. I'm the activities director. I'm the Relief Society president, or not Relief Society president. I'm in the Relief Society presidency, and I'm Relief Society teacher. I'm on the board. I go to the temple with the Relief Society presidency. Like, I'm legit Mormon. And then I say something shocking, and they're just like, oh. So they would invite me to these, like, I got invited to all the things. Like, I was in the inner circle of the wards. And they would invite me to all of, like, the not affiliated with the church activities and stuff. But I kind of felt like I was the eccentric, we invite her because she's entertaining person and not because they actually liked me. Because when I left the church, maybe 2 people stayed in touch with me. I lost 38 friends in one day.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I was like, I told someone, I was like, I read my way out. And they were like, oh, and they were just like, unfriend.
It's so closed-minded. I don't have really Mormon friends left either.
They talk about education like it's this huge thing. But once you start getting educated, that's what happened. That's what did me in, was education. Like, I went back to church. I became college educated. And my brain just did not work.
Did you feel like when you left, because when I finally recognized that it was bullshit and we were leaving, I felt a lot of relief before I started feeling the anger. I was relieved first because our eternal destiny as Mormon women is to share our husbands with multiple other wives and make spirit babies for our planets. Like, who the fuck wants to do that?
Well, I started listening to podcasts and they made me mad. Well, I was relieved. I was scared first. First was fear.
Yeah.
Because this choice wasn't only affecting, I'm sure you felt the same thing as a mother. It wasn't just affecting me. It was affecting my entire line.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the decision I'm making is hugely...
Yeah,
it's
not
like
just
a domino.
Yep.
It's not just me. Because I brought all of the information to my husband and said, I am no longer Mormon and I'm not sure I believe in Jesus anymore. Like, basically, I just told him straight out. And it was like just dominoes falling. And he kept going with the kids for about 6 months, but I was still listen to this podcast, read this blog, read this article, here's this. And so we kind of talked about it obsessively for 6 months, just nonstop. And then he left also. And it was just the kids. I was like, I'll still take you if you guys still want to go. But it was, I felt such responsibility for their eternal salvations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because the women are the spiritual ones. They're the ones that save the family.
That's us. We're supposed to keep our husbands in. Yeah. I was, at first I was relieved. then of course the fear hit because it's like, well, my parents are going to find out, and yeah.
I called my dad and told him because I like to say shocking things.
Oh, so you were excited about the news? Okay.
Oh yeah, I wanted that conversation. Yeah, I wanted that conversation. But he told me not to tell my mom, so I didn't for like a year because I still was listening to him.
Yeah.
Because I still have trouble not falling into line.
No, I get it. I get it completely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I didn't start getting angry until I started actually digging in more deep and talking to ex-Mormons and talking to people who knew history and actually realizing
from the parties and stuff like I would go to, we'd start talking and people would tell me about, being told to stay in relationships that were abusive. Assault being covered up. The way people were treating, gay members of their family or I just started getting angrier. And then it was around the time that Kate Kelly was excommunicated and I was furious. I was furious. And my visiting teacher sat down with me one more time. And it was it was like the day I got the news of Kate Kelly and I just went off about that. And they were like, well, she made some choices. I'm like, no, she didn't. She could not have been more polite. Mm-hmm. Please, would you please accept me as equal?
That's it. Why is that so hard to ask? So she was in the stake right next to my stake boundary. So I knew of her and I'd met her a few times.
Awesome. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And when that all went down, of course, it was huge out here because it was right in these central stakes.
Yeah.
And my dad came out to visit and he said, oh, so I guess you heard about that Kate Kelly getting excommunicated. And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, well, she finally got what was coming. I go, what do you mean, Dad?
Yep.
What do you mean she got what's coming?
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you don't do what's right. I said, do what's right according to who? I finally said, that's what happens when you don't follow the prophet. I'm like, Dad, I can't believe you're celebrating this. Yeah, pick one because they changed their minds. Yeah, they're all saying different shit.
Well, that's because, the church is growing. It's like, oh, cool. So black people didn't exist before a certain date? Before they weren't like legitimate enough to get into heaven? And then suddenly God realized? Like, it's just maddening.
It's amazing to hear them try to explain that away. And then to me, it's amazing right now how the church is trying to do this big push of we welcome all LGBTQ people. It's like, that is bullshit. Have you seen that video put out by North Star? Oh my God, you have to look it up. North Star is like the conversion therapy type church program, right? And try to get, accepting of gay people or turn gay people back to straight so they can be in good standings with the church. But the video is all of this lovely church music. And then they have these clearly gay people that are saying, that I'm a Mormon and I am welcomed, man, I am accepted. And there's this one couple,
as long as you don't act on your urges, right?
I know. Right? There's one couple who's a man who's clearly looks gay, and then his wife, and they're like at a park and they have these two kids and they're like happy and it's so disgusting to me because I'm like, it's such a lie. How can you do that? Why don't you show the real thing, which would be
the depression.
This gay man's wife crying every night because she can't get her husband to be attracted to her.
Right.
And that he's so frustrated because he's trying to give love to this woman that he can't connect with. Why don't you show the video of these single women
that they were showing in the video? Her fault that he's not attracted to her.
Yeah, if I could be sexier, if I could be...
Right. I went through that. Actually, I was on that. I was on the receiving end of that. So yeah, it was, you feel guilty, you feel ugly, you feel, everything.
Yeah. There's one part of the video where there's these two women who are clearly gay. They just make them look very gay, and they're sitting in the pews in a sacrament meeting, and they're just smiling and singing along the hymns. I'm like, why don't you show the real story? If it's these two women, they're sitting next to each other and they probably like each other, but they can't show that because they look around and they see all these families of a man, a wife, and a kid. And they're like, we can never have that. I can never touch you. I can't kiss you. I can't love you, but we can sit here in fucking church and feel the spirit and be excluded from everything we want because we're Mormon.
Priesthoods and Joseph Smith and
God.
Yeah, they do that. They dial up the the priesthood songs a lot. I don't know. I haven't been in like 6 years, but
I remember been in probably 4 years, 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
On my podcast, though, we read through some lyrics to Mormon hymns, and they are so fucking ridiculous. Yeah,
they're bad.
Yeah, there was one.
Sisters of Zion. That one's bad.
I'll have to get that one out. I actually bought a kids' primary hymns book, and I read the lyrics from one song, and it was I can't remember the exact words, but it basically said, "There's our father, strong and true. Then there's the children and mother too." It was like,
well, okay, so that was one thing that I was processing when I was in the anger phase, was I realized that women programs fall under auxiliary, which is just extra. It's just so it's the men, the scouts, the boys, all of that, and then it's auxiliary, which is primary and the children and the women. Yeah. And so
basically they only need us to bear their babies and to make sure they can get into heaven, where they can have a bunch of other women too.
The women are in charge of the children. That's it. Like the women are in charge of the children. So my mom was always like stake primary president, or, stake something, like release, like a young women leader, stake camp director, stake something. And she was like, because I was telling her this when I was processing out, and I'm like, you just don't even have power. You have to ask permission from a man. She was like, I have power. I can do whatever I want in my ward. I'm the primary president. I can do whatever I want. And I was like, who has to sign the checks? If you do something, and she was like, well, I have to run it by the bishop for the budget. I was like, do the scouts have to do that? Because I don't think they do. I think they just turn in their receipts. And she was like, they just have to turn in their receipts. You have to ask permission and get things signed off before you have your party approved. They just have to turn in over the receipts. So yeah, I started seeing the discrepancies. And then I looked back at my own experience, and I enjoyed young women, and I enjoyed camp. I enjoyed all of those things. But I started looking back at, we literally had a program one night, or an activity one night, where we made dinner for the priest. Did you do that also as Laurels?
Yep. What the fuck is that?
Dinner. And then we had, we made our hope chest and our boxes, and we wrote list of what we want in our future partners and our future mates. That's what I was doing in Young Women when I was, between 12 and 18. And then, but the boys were doing scout stuff. They were going on shooting. They were doing archery. Yeah. They were building fires. They were playing basketball. They were doing fun. They took apart a car. God. And, learned how to change oil, and they did all of the fun stuff. And we were writing lists about our future mates. Yep. At like 14.
Oh, yeah. I hated that too, because, again, I had 3 older brothers. And so I got to watch them go water skiing, camping, week-long river trips, all the shit. And what did I get to do? I got to sit there and fucking needlepoint some scripture.
Exactly.
Who cares? Yeah, I hated it. I got
really good at sewing, though, and cooking.
Oh, that's
I am domestic as fuck. That's what I like to say to my boyfriend. I'm like, you're so lucky that I'm domestic as fuck. Because I am. Like, I can make things from scratch. I can sew whatever. And yeah. So that was my Mormon claim to fame, is my daughter. I had 2 boys, and then I had a girl, and it was my first girl. And so I got all excited because it was like, girl babe. Yeah. And so I made her most of her clothes from the time she was like 18 months until she was about 5.
Oh, you were super Mormon.
I was super Mormon.
Yeah.
So and then I went through this phase for her first 3 years of her life. She never wore the same dress twice to church, because I was making them all out of fabric that I had in my house. So my mom was like, you were raising a snob. I'm like, no, she's just special because she's my baby.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I was the baby and the only girl
that
too.
Was me. I was the one that she'd show up at church and she'd have the matching bow on her head, and that was me.
That was never me. I just complained. I didn't have the mental maturity to see how uneven it was and to recognize that it was wrong. It just taught me that as a girl I was less than the boys, and that's what God wanted. So I took that as, this is the correct way to do it, because you don't question it. It didn't seem fair, but I knew that it was correct because that's what God wanted, and that hurt me because in my mind God didn't value me.
Well, were you taught? You probably. I'm sure you were taught this. This wasn't doctrine, but it was enough of an urban legend that it became almost doctrine, where men were given the priesthood and the power because women got to bear the children.
Yes. Yep.
So that was what they were given to balance out, the great gift that you were given. So become a mother.
Whereas I didn't even want to have kids, what that wasn't,
I wanted to be
who I am.
A businesswoman. That's what I wanted. I always wanted to be like a businesswoman. And I remember my patriarchal blessing. This is shop talk. Like people aren't going to understand it, but it's something that you're given by a uber priesthood leader.
My dad's a stake patriarch. Let me throw that out there.
Basically just like some uber priesthood leader, like her mom, or like her dad. And they tell you what they're prompted to tell you. But basically they kind of use it. He used it. My particular one used it to guide me because they kind of talk to you for a minute beforehand.
Yeah.
And I told him that I have this full ride scholarship and I want to go into, like, I had all of these career paths and it was awesome. And my patriarchal blessing says very clearly, education's important, but remember your primary goal as a woman is to be a wife and mother. I was 16.
Oh, God.
All these things. And so I only went 1 year of my full ride scholarship and I got married at 19 and I just started having babies. And that's what I did. I turned down that path and I made, those choices. And so now I went back to college, obviously, but it was like so much more expensive. And
oh yeah.
But at least when you're older, when you go back as a grown up, you know more of what
I think you appreciate. Yeah. What do you think about this whole that's what I chose? I feel like the choices that I made when I was under the brainwashing, they weren't really my choices. Yeah.
Like I knew my husband maybe 3 months before we got married.
Wow.
Maybe top. Like I met him in April or March and we were married by October. So maybe 6 months, but he proposed to me really early on. And so now we're coming up on a year in this relationship. I'm like, it's too soon. Like he'll say something nice to me. I'm like, did you just propose to me? Like, it's a joke now. It's a joke. And he was like, why did you just accept? I'm like, I wouldn't dare. But yeah, I didn't have the choice. Like I didn't choose to do that.
They like to say that you chose to be a mother, you chose to get baptized, you chose to go on a mission, but you don't choose. When here's your choice. You follow God's plan or you're wicked and you burn in hell. Like there's your choices. Right. So who's going to choose to not go on a mission or not get married or not?
Special spirit. Like she's so special. What a special spirit.
The angels that act as sentinels.
Single lady.
Oh God.
That's the single lady who's, heaven forbid she's over 25.
No.
Can't be over 25 and single.
Gross. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Like in the real world, 30 is like an acceptable age to be single.
Yeah, I have a lot of millennial friends actually, and it's crazy to me that some of them who are nearing 30 years old, I'm like, I had 4 kids by the time I was 30, Wow.
Yeah, I had my third at 30.
And they're just having a great time. They're enjoying life. They're figuring out their career. They've switched careers a couple times. They've moved around. They've experienced life. I didn't get to do any of that.
I didn't do any of that. So now I'm not a millennial. Mm-hmm. I'm a zennial because I'm a Gen Xer, but I'm like right on the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I identify with millennials more because I basically live like a millennial.
Yes.
Like I'm poor as fuck. Mm-hmm. I'm starting my life over. I'm, plus kids. That's basically...
Yeah, I'm a millennial plus 7 kids. I think that's why I do get along with millennials so well is when I left the church and then I joined this CrossFit gym and there were a lot of people and they wanted to go out drinking and partying and I was all in and like, they...
Okay.
Yeah, and I love them. They're so fun and their lives are free and great and they're good people and... I didn't really, I can get along with everyone really, but it was the younger set that I wanted to be with. I needed that excitement.
Yes.
But now that I'm with Mary and she's actually 52, but she's young at heart too. Like we like to go out. Yeah,
we have way too many kids between the two of us. We try to line up our custody every other weekend, the same weekend. But he has a 3-year-old, so it's hard. But between the two of us, we have 6 kids. So it's a lot. It's a lot of logistics and trying to line it up. And I'm...
How old are yours?
My oldest is 16 and my youngest is 8 and not baptized.
I say the age of accountability.
I know. Nope. But she only went one week of sunbeams.
Then you rescued her from that life.
Well, I was already out, but I had to come back and substitute for a friend because she was asking nicely, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So, yeah. But then it was about temple, so I was out.
Oh yeah, I think so. I look at, being a mom is a struggle for me. Doesn't come naturally. I have to bust my ass to be a good mom and what I think a good mom is. But I think about, even no matter how much I might screw up and not get it right being a mom, I pulled them out of the cult. And
that's exactly
because
how I
of
feel.
that, they get to have their own lives that they choose. And no matter how much I screw up being a mom, I did the best thing in the world for them by giving them choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I gave them the right to be themselves, or the power to be themselves. Like my middle son, he's amazing, but he is openly gay. Mm-hmm. And an atheist and vulgar. Man, that kid.
He gets it from his mom.
Mouth. He does. He solidly does. But he is so vulgar. And like we sat down and we watched that Michael Jackson documentary a couple weeks ago together. Like he and I watched it together. And he watched some because my boyfriend called. And so I took the phone call and I came back in. And I came in the room and he was like, "It got so much fucking worse, Mom." And I was like I love you, my foul-mouthed child. Like, I love him. But, I did that. Like, I did.
Yeah, so I think about how my kids...
I feel good about it.
Yeah, my kids aren't stressed about, do they have to go to the bishop and repent for masturbating? They're not stressed about, am I going to get stuck going on a mission to Utah or Idaho and be embarrassed? What if I don't get into BYU? Like, they don't worry about that stress.
No.
I like that you told that story. I'll tell a story real quick. Cracks me up. So he was 18 at the time. My oldest 18. And I love this because we wouldn't have had this relationship had we stayed Mormon. No way. I was just judging and making sure they do the right things.
Me too.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was real hardcore.
Oh yeah, because you're so afraid that they're not going to make it in the Mormon world. So we're chatting one day, and he's like, "Oh, Mom, I got to tell you something." This is him telling me, which makes it even better. So he had to have a cavity filled, and I was too lazy to find him a new dentist, and so I just said, "Well, go back to the pediatric dentist. This is the pediatric dentist with teddy bears and balloons on the walls and all this stuff." And so I sent him. Yeah. And he's like, so I get there and they asked me if I wanted the laughing gas. So of course I said yes. And then he said, so I'm laying there and they're starting to work on me, but the laughing gas was making me feel a little bit nauseous because I guess it does that sometimes. And so I told
I'm allergic to it.
Okay. So I told the dental assistant that I was feeling sick and she said, well, if you need to throw up, that's okay. Just kind of throw up and we'll suction it out of your mouth. Ugh. And he said, okay. And so I just went ahead and threw up a little bit and she suctioned it out. And then she goes, that smells like Malibu rum. He goes, yeah, I was out the night before partying with my friends. So there's my kid, throwing up Malibu rum in the pediatrician's office.
That's funny.
But we're close enough that he would tell me that. So that never would have happened had we stayed Mormon. He probably would have still gone out and gotten...
He would hide it from you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if I found out, I'd be like, what are you doing? You're not worthy to serve a mission or whatever. Mm-hmm. Just guilt him. I don't raise my kids on guilt and shame anymore. I let them... I love them and guide them, but love them and let them pick what they want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, me too. So I want to ask, so it's kind of nearing the time. Where can people find you?
Again, the podcast is Latter Day Lesbian podcast, however you want to look it up. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, awesome. Anchor, iTunes, all of them. You'll find us on any of them. You can contact us at contact@latterdaylesbian.org. If you're on Facebook, look up Latter Day Lesbian Podcast. We have a lot going on Facebook.
Okay,
Instagram. Oh yeah, do please. Instagram is at Latter Day Les. The podcast is doing great. We're 18 episodes in. Nice. We're just under 40,000 downloads, so it's really picking up. We'd like to read listener mail. I know, it's super exciting. I was shocked when we started the podcast. I thought I was the only one with my story. Yeah, and then I realized this is people are suffering through Mormonism. People are stuck and they need help. And so I like that I've been able to help people get out. That's pretty great.
That's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very cool. So they can find you. I know I found you on Instagram.
Yes. Yep. Instagram is Latter Day Les.
Latter Day Les. I was reading it Latter Dales.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, well. That's great, too. Okay. But it's Latter Day Les.
Okay. That's okay. That's why I was like, Dale, right? It's Dale? That's why. So Latter Day Les. Okay.
Yeah. Latter Day Les. Okay. I guess it could have been Latter Day Lesbian. But yeah. And on Facebook, it's Latter Day Lesbian. And the podcast, Latter Day Lesbian. Yep.
Okay. So there's no question.
No question. And if you don't know how to spell ladder, it's not L-A-D-D. It's L-A-T-T-E-R.
Yeah.
Like Latter-day Saint.
Right, because you are from the end times.
Oh God, yes, I was chosen for these latter days to bring the world its truth and other bullshit.
Were you raised on? You're the Saturday Warriors generation.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we. I don't know if you listen to God Awful Movies or watch God Awful Movies. They covered that. Okay, so they watch Christian cinema or basically any religious movies, and then just make fun of it. Basically, they just mock it.
There's a lot to mock.
Unapologetically. And they have Mormon months where they will watch Mormon movies, and there are some gems out there. You know there are.
Oh, I know there are. Some fantastic. Yeah. Yeah,
and they found some that I didn't know of either. But they found the one with the cows or the 12 goat, whatever. Yeah. 10 cow wife.
Wahana, you ugly. What's the name of it?
Terrible. Johnny Lingo.
Yes, Johnny Lingo. Yep.
Terrible. But yes. Yeah, they watched that one. It's fantastic. So yeah, they did Saturday Warrior.
It would be fun to have like fake family home evening these days and just show our kids some of the stupid ass Mormon movies that they missed out on because we left the church, and just let them rip them apart. That would be a good time.
Yeah, I had fun when I moved donating like the boxes of like Nephi videos. Or actually, I don't think I donated those. I threw those away because I didn't think anyone else needed those.
No.
I remember like I had boxes and boxes and boxes, like all of the Book of Mormon story videos. It was
we were so brainwashed.
I know. So my siblings left the church 10 years before I did, at least. Maybe
that's
more.
Nice that you have family that's also left. I don't have any family that's left. I'm the only one, and they're like,
it's horrible. It's terrible when you don't. My parents are very, very much in, but and then my sister's on again, off again, Patreon of my show, which is cool. But no, it's so they left about 10 or more years before me, and I remember they would call me or send me information, and I'm like, I don't need your filth in my house. I have children. This is not okay. It's not appropriate. I don't think you can be around them if you can't keep that, trash from infecting them.
Yeah.
Like I was real uppity. Like my brother got engaged. He got engaged to a wonderful woman who's now his wife, and I would not allow them to open champagne in front of me to celebrate their engagement that had just happened.
Wow, you sucked, didn't you? You were in.
Oh, I was the worst. I would not allow them because my children were present and I didn't need them to be around that. Now, I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, yeah, it's late enough for whiskey in this soda. Yeah, we're good.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm just like pouring it in. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, mind your business, bitch. I didn't say that, but you know what I mean. Like,
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the worst. I know. Worst person. I was more judgmental of everybody else because I wasn't happy. Not happy. I wasn't getting laid.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't
that'll screw you up.
I wasn't talked to,
Yeah, you were diminished, you were marginalized, you were tread upon. Yeah, no, I get it.
So that was the problem with when I got divorced, is when we left the church together, he never really let go of that whole ownership,
I'm the man.
patriarchal mindset. So even now, I moved in with my boyfriend, and he literally sent me a text not like a week ago, just literally a week ago, yelling at me because I didn't ask him permission before I moved. We've been divorced for over a year almost.
God.
And I didn't ask him permission to move.
There are a lot of men who leave the church but still need to maintain that control and power, He
had trouble holding on to it, and he's single, and he's going to probably remain single because out in the real life dating world, he's going to have a hard time finding someone, especially since he's not religious at all. He's going to have a hard time finding someone who's going to fall in line the way he wants them to. So, yeah, it's good luck. So, do you have anything else that you want to share, you want to say?
Can we do this again sometime?
Yeah, you're fantastic.
All right, perfect. I'm sure we could uncover a whole lot more Mormon shit.
We'll join each other's pages. We'll just talk.
Yes, I love it. No, this has been super fun.
We're going to be in St. Louis in August at Skepticon. I think Skepticon. We're going to be in Skepticon in St. Louis in August. So that's closer to you, but it's not super close.
Getting there. You're getting there.
Yeah, because Amy with a Y is in Minnesota and I'm in Texas, so that's kind of like inching towards your direction.
Yes. Yeah, I'd love to meet sometime. That'd be really cool.
It would be fun. So I'm going to wrap up the show. Just want to make sure I didn't step on any tones. No problem. Not a problem.
And when we start, we're getting closer to getting guests on our show too. Would love to have you on to chit chat about everything. That would be great.
I will absolutely do that.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome. I start a new job in a week or so my schedule gets real crazy coming up. So That's all we've got for now. Thanks to our fabulous listeners who put up with us droning on week after week. If you enjoy our delightful bitchcraft, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and send us all your monies on Patreon. You can find us on those platforms by using the Google machine. It's not hard. This week, your donations will go to a lot of therapy bills because we're fucked up. If you want to tell the world how awful this episode was, join our Secret Soup Talk Facebook group. If you want to tell us to fuck off personally, you can send an email to secularsouppodcast@gmail.com. Please rate and review us on iTunes, Facebook, and wherever else you can review things like this. It will help us spread the soup gospel far and wide. And hey, tell your friends. As always, we'll leave you with the vocal stylings of Mr. Eli Bosnick.
Secular Soup Creed. Soup is the ultimate virtue. It's delicious, nutritious, patriarchy smashing, racism fighting, warm and fuzzy, human affirming, fun having, anti-theist, glitter throwing, tummy satisfying, pair of new shoes fulfilling, diversity seeking, happiness. Minestrone, beef and barley, chicken broth and split pea, gazpacho, tomato, clam chowder and potato, chicken noodle, beef noodle, egg drop and ramen cup, miso, gumbo, leek and pho. Grab a bowl and taste the magic. Slurp even this.